Hey, it's your buddy Peace and Harmony with you here today, taking a look at the female psychopath. A lot of people seem to outright feel that most of the psychopaths that they hear about in the news or otherwise are male. And we don't often hear too much of the female psychopath, either in criminal doings, personal doings. It's a very sort of under the hood sort of disorder. In fact, a lot of people tend to refer to the female narcissist and not so much the female psychopath, when they absolutely positively can be female psychopaths. In fact, it's estimated there's 1 in 100 female psychopaths, and the numbers are growing and increasingly as they become more prone to seek help and be identified and diagnosed by the mental health profession. So what does the female psychopath look like? Is there anything that we can identify in her? Is there anything that will be a giveaway so that we can basically put a nail on it, put a thumbtack in it and say this person is a psychopath? Well, one thing is that the female psychopath definitely follows all the same traits as the psychopath checklist. And one thing to definitely notice about the psychopath is that they are always on. They're always putting a mask out. They're always pretending to be a certain way. They're always sort of motivated in a certain direction to have power. I've done a previous video on the psychopathic thirst for power. And everything that they do, they really try to satiate an abyss of need for power that is a tremendous driving void within them. In fact, many of the people that you see in higher positions in society are psychopathic in nature, meaning that they have no conscience. They have absolutely no trouble committing large amounts of fraud, committing all sorts of bribery, without feeling guilty. They're not held back whatsoever by any sort of feelings of remorse, guilt, or moral obligation to a person, entity, or cause. So they're very able to switch back and forth between causes, people. As long as it involves them being in power, you're going to see the psychopath gravitate in that direction. And an interesting fact about the psychopath is their amygdala, which is a area of the brain, is called the paralimbic system. This paralimbic system in the psychopath is found to be slower in activity than that in the normal and healthy brain. And this does tend to regulate really kind of our moral center, our impulse center, and really an assessment of right or wrong, to the degree that they're almost verging on a level of a spectrum of autism. And if you've ever seen an autistic child with their parent, you know, they're kind of like in their own world. They might be self-abusing. They might be punching things. They kind of have their eyes rolling all over the place. You know, they're kind of in their own world. They don't respond to communication. They don't respond to their parent. And if they do have any sort of language, it's usually only 1 or 2 syllables. Well, the psychopath, interesting enough, has been found to have this parasympathetic nervous system abnormality within their amygdala, which is thought to be one of the kind of originating causes of this deficit in their personality. And so understand that there really is a physiological base for this sort of abnormal behavior, and realize that basically means that you can't really treat them, you can't really change them. There's not a really super great prognosis for them improving, quote unquote, or learning new behaviors or getting over it. So if you feel like you're trying to, you know, help change the psychopath, you're throwing your pearls at swine. You have to realize that it's a physiological component going on there that we cannot change. And it's really a new and emerging area of study which is being looked at and discovered. So hopefully there'll be a lot more information on that soon, because it really helps point to really the cause of this sort of behavior. And so also hopefully this can help you understand that it's nothing that you have done to create this behavior within the female psychopath. They're going to be this way whether you're in the picture or not. So, you know, if you feel like it's going to be better for the next guy, do not worry. It will absolutely, positively not be better for the next guy. So, you know, a thing to remember about the psychopathic female is their vindictiveness. You know, showing a very strong and unreasonable desire for revenge on people. So this revenge really seems to be at taking out a power, an unnecessary power over people, a drive to exploit them, a drive to manipulate them and control, no matter what the situation. Also very prone to pathological lying on a daily, consistent, minute-by-minute basis. The female psychopath will lie when she has no need to. It's just a way for them to kind of recreate in their mind the fact that they are queen over their kingdom, which is basically any of their targets that they deem worthy of being manipulated, exploited for some ends. It could be sexual, it could be monetary, it could be to get a position in a job, it can be for housing, it can be to make her look normal to her other job or another family member. So there's always an ulterior motive. There is no genuine heart-to-heart connection with these people. They're missing the equipment, so to speak. So there's not going to be a genuine connection with these people. They're always on. They're always wearing a mask. They're always pretending. Everything you see, from them being a parent to being a friend to being an employee to enjoying, you know, lunches out, it's all a mask. It's all pretend. They're always putting on their best behavior. They're always putting on a smile. They're always coming in with that sort of, you know, very sort of solicitous body language. In fact, you know, it's the queen of seduction. And the thing is, it's very important to understand that in the media, oftentimes this female vixen is touted as very desirable. You know, the dominatrix, you know, who can just wow you beyond belief in bed, you know, who can turn tricks, who is very exploitative of themselves sexually and you sexually, pushing the boundaries, pushing you beyond where you had been before. And a lot of men, a lot of gentlemen get very titillated by this, very aroused, and they fall way too fast into this sort of kind of love bombing, you know, the ultimate honeymoon where they're just infatuated with this psychopathic woman, and they think that she's just a strong-willed sort of female, when in essence she's really has targeted them, profiled them, and is utilizing them as a source of supply and abuse and to take advantage of them, and will really get to the point where it can be so severe that they can have their way with these men and have them leave jobs, have them buy houses, have them put the houses in her name, and the guy thinks it's right because he's doing it for their relationship when she has no intention of being in a long-term relationship. There was recently a couple in the news. I think it was a billionaire who was married to a young Italian woman, and you know, he thought that she had gone missing, yet, you know, she was like on some sort of Twitter, you know, with some other guy that she was, I guess, living with in New York. I mean, it's just the sort of webs that they weave are unfathomable, that they could live such double and triple lives. In fact, they're able to move quite rapidly between relationships. They have no emotional attachment whatsoever. It's also been shown in the brain of the psychopath female that there's lacking in a certain neural activity that relates to emotional intelligence and emotional connection between people. So they really, again, are missing in the equipment in their mind. So they are able to really shut one off and turn one on, and you know, turn that guy off and then turn this other one on, and they're able to move back and forth very quickly. In fact, they can treat you like they never have even met you, and that's very surprising to a lot of men who've maybe been in relationship with these types of women for years. So it can be very, very distressing, you know, and oftentimes a lot of men get actually destroyed, close to being destroyed emotionally, financially, physically, after encountering these type of women. I'm going to be going in more detail on this subject in terms of, you know, what are their communication styles like. Very catty, very vindictive in the way that they talk about people behind their back. Always kind of a malicious, envious, sort of piercing look. A lot of men, they take that piercing look as sexual interest, when it's just really their overall demeanor. They're very provocative with body language, so of course they know that the men are into that, and, you know, easily provoked into sexual encounters with that flirtatious style, which they basically are on 24/7 if they want to put it on, and they can turn it off and put it on to another guy just as rapidly with no emotional attachment, which is very different, because a lot of women, of course, generally have an emotional component into their lovemaking. In other words, you know, if they give of themselves, you know, to a man, there's going to be an emotional connection there. A lot of women generally don't lead in relationships like that, especially, you know, as they learn a time or two that that's not very becoming quality to, you know, behave like that. And so, you know, the psychopath female, though, will definitely use that provocative physical prowess, if you will, to their advantage to overtake the men and overtake them emotionally, and then the guy doesn't know which end is up, which path is straight, which path is forward, and they're doing all sorts of things that they otherwise wouldn't have under that concoction of lust and infatuation that she is developing within the target. And it's all pre-calculated from the beginning. They know that they are not going to be with this person for the long run, but they willingly enter into this sort of relationship in order to fulfill their ends. So the cattiness, you know, is very typical of their communication style. In other words, just sort of jabbing, you know, very kind of power hungry sort of communication style. Also with the physical presence, again, will do sometimes very immoral physical things, you know, in terms of, you know, maybe like taking their clothes off in the car, misbehaving in front of friends, you know, if they're in the office setting, doing very provocative things with their body or being very suggestive. I mean, this is, you know, using sex to get your way, but on the psychopathic level, it's just an even heightened degree. And if you've been around it, you can understand that there's something that really tends to ooze off of these type of females. And it creates a very chaotic, sort of very fiery presence in the room, which you really don't want to mess and tangle with. It only spells trouble, and a lot of men have definitely learned the hard way from that. But the chaos, you know, they will, you don't know which end is up. You don't know if you're coming or going. They can turn you on and turn you off. And it's this kind of chase that the men then get trapped into, and feeling like that they're going to try harder and harder and harder, you know, as if they think it's part of the romance game that they're leading, but it's really leading you into a trap, a path of devastation, which means you're losing your rights, you're losing your bank account, you're losing your house, you're losing your reputation, you're losing your job. They really have men really, you know, by the chain, and it can be very sad, and a lot of men, you know, find it very difficult to surmount this. It's just, it can be head spinning sometimes. So just be careful of that sort of psychopathic female. We're going to go into more of that, but, you know, the woman with a very strong facade, very provocative, very seducing in their opportunities and their communication style, very power hungry. If you have to deal with these types, if you think it's excitement, reevaluate excitement and realize what true happiness is. Peace and harmony with you here today. I hope these videos help. Please share, please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support.